Today's episode is on the vision that somebody could have for the MedTech industry for 2022. So why? Because there are so less visions these days coming from our politicians in Germany. The only answer they seem to have to that pandemic situation is lockdown and everybody should stay home and so on. So it's not really creative, I'd say. And overall, I guess it's a bit frustrating because the vaccination seems to be there from different companies, and it's obvious that we should be faster in distributing the vaccination to the whole population. And if you look into the US or other states, they are pretty much faster than we are here in Germany, and that's a bit frustrating to everybody. Anyways, because it is like it is, we cannot change this, I guess. We can try to look into the future and predict what could happen in 2022 for the industry. Especially for Germany, because that's what I was investigating on through newspaper articles. So the impact of the corona pandemic on the economy in global, it's undoubtedly huge. But what trends can be predicted for the MedTech industry in the post-COVID era? There was an article published the 31st of July in the Ärztezeitung, which is a German newspaper that goes out to doctors and nurses, obviously. And they were investigating on what was the impact of for the decline in surgeries postponed by emergency bed occupancy for those patients who got COVID-19. And that's what they found out. Overall, OPs declined by 41% during the medical shutdown. The Professional Association of German Surgeons reported, citing a nationwide benchmarking program for those OP process times. If you compare that to the figure from the Federal Statistical Office in Germany, which registered a total of 7.1 million procedures in Germany for 2019, that would result in a huge backlog of 2.9 million procedures per year. If we further assume that the situation will stabilize, hopefully by the end of September this year, we would result in a total backlog of 4.4 million interventions. So if you compare those two figures, a backlog of 4.4 million interventions, that is 60% of all the surgeries that have happened in 2019. That number was 7.1 million procedures. And there are two other causes that are likely to exacerbate the trend. First, the aging of the society in Germany and also in other European countries, obviously, especially considering that more than half of the procedures from 2019 are performed on people over 60 years old. So this is obviously a supporting trend, the aging of the society. And second, the growth in obesity. Bariatric surgeries increased nearly 5-fold from 2006 to 2014, albeit at a low level. Nevertheless, it is estimated that around 15% of health spending in our system in Germany already has to be spent on the consequences of obesity. If it is diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, or certain types of cancer, unfortunately. So 15% already goes in for those surgeries. During the pandemic in particular, it was noted that the average overall weight of the population has increased sharply by 1.7 kilograms per person in the society. So each of us in Germany gained in average 1.7 kilos in 1 year. That's especially high. And that's because, I guess, also because all the training could not be performed. So people needed to stay home and obviously felt not good with that. So telly on, no sports. So what impact will this all have on the medical product manufacturers? That's the question, obviously, what is concerning. So it's a positive outlook if you think about 4.4 million backlog interventions, especially for manufacturers of surgical consumables or disposable products, obviously. And this is also dampened by the general shortage of nursing and technical staff in hospitals. So what we are facing in Germany is a shortage of doctors, a shortage of supporting functions like nurses. So there are simply not enough here at this moment of time, and that's a crisis that we are having for years now. And here again, our politicians does not seem to feel eager to solve this. And in this respect, the backlog is likely to be reduced only slowly, unfortunately. Nevertheless, we can expect an increased demand of about 20%, I guess, for the post-pandemic phase, which we should see then in 2022. So that means for all producers that are doing consumables and disposable products, obviously we see an increase of sales. This is possible. So manufacturers of simple devices for diagnosis or products that care for diabetes patients and their daily lives are also likely to benefit from this development. This trend should also apply to producers who manufacture hospital equipment like beds, lights, and so on. But due to the overall cost impact of the pandemic situation for the entire healthcare system, a more difficult situation is likely to develop for manufacturers of more complex equipment, for example, for imaging surgery, X-ray equipment, or similarly technical demanding products. And that's because the national health system is already demanding more money from the insurance takers. Higher costs for new equipment purchases are likely to be rather challenging for many hospitals. Pre-pandemic situation, that was also clear that hospitals in Germany are looking more and more to the cost aspect and obviously have tighter and tighter budgets to spend on equipment and so on. What would that be of an impact for medium-sized and small manufacturers? They will also face challenges from the increased regulatory requirement imposed by legislators. If you take the EU MDR thing, then you might see that this has a big impact on small and medium-sized companies because there's much more regulations to be satisfied than ever before. This makes market access for new products much more difficult because the approval process as a whole is becoming more lengthy and complex. So even if there is an innovative company that has a very nice idea on products, it will take them longer than ever before to go to market. And that's for sure not the engine for innovation. Obviously, this is demanding for those companies. And I can tell because I am also supporting small-sized companies with really nice ideas who try to enter into the German market and it is quite complex if you compare to 2014 or so. So this has less to do directly with the pandemic situation, obviously, than with the European Union's efforts, which have been ongoing for around 10 years now, to ensure the most uniform possible conditions for access to and regulation of the European market, which in general is not negative, but the effect from the new regulation seems quite demanding for those small and medium-sized companies. All of these are certainly reasons to jump on the mega trend of digitalization, streamline internal processes, if it is with lean or any other methodology, and also invest in connectivity to electronic ordering systems, into service systems, and so on. The general shortage of skilled personnel in this sector, in the medical device industry, is likely to continue to be present, and it is for sure a challenging picture for all manufacturers, because also on this end there is a shortage of engineers, of regulatory staff who could support the manufacturers. And today this is a very fragmented thing, where you can see that companies are trying to get in good personnel, which seems to be a challenge because there is a shortage. But nevertheless, this overall trend seems to be on a long term a positive trend, and the manufacturers who are able to have innovations ready now will be definitely one of the first to profit from the sales opportunities. Thanks very much for listening. If you have any thoughts to that, please give me a comment. I would be happy to try to answer those. Thanks very much again. Have a great day.